Factors influencing the implementation of green building specifications, a designer's perspective. Good morning, Dr. Crafford, education panel, and guest listeners. My name is Monyane. Before I begin, I want to say thank you very much for throwing me into the lion's lair so early in the morning on Friday. Today I'll talk to you about green building, but more in particular, what affects how well green building designs are prepared and implemented eventually. I'll begin by going through the objectives. This will be followed by the review of literature by authors' opinions. After that, we'll have a look at how I went by in gathering and interpreting my empirical investigation, as well as the findings. I will then wrap up, and we will conclude and open the floor to questions. We have to inspire interest and create demand for solutions to our planetary crisis. These are the words of Sammy Grover, a famous leader of the famous leader of the tree hugger movement. South African green building projects often fail to meet the requirements. These failures occur despite there being established principles which can be followed and applied. The various reasons why these green building failures occur. The British Standards 8900 have established 4 factors under which these variables can be encompassed. A study of a similar nature was conducted in Hong Kong, but the findings of this study aren't really applicable to South Africa because Hong Kong is a first world country. We might have different construction cultures as well as different general attitudes towards green building. This study will reveal the prevalent problems in green building from a designer's perspective. If these problems fester, they will lead to further failures of green building projects, as well as declining confidence in general public towards green building. In terms of the objective of the study, we're to determine what are the most critical factors that are problematic in South African green building. But to narrow it down even further, the focus will be on the design stage of a project when specifications are prepared and are to be implemented. This will shed light on challenges designers can expect to face when preparing designs for green buildings. In terms of literature, there have been 4 factors established by the British Standards 8900, and they have their variables underneath them. First factor is stakeholder involvement with 2 variables. Second is leadership and responsibility with 5 variables. Technologies and techniques has 9 variables, and feedback and building public confidence, which has 4 variables. Stakeholder involvement. The first variable in stakeholder involvement is top management's directive for environmental protection. This deals with corporate social responsibility, whereby top management of firms needs to align the business activities with environmentally friendly practices. Stakeholder concerns. The authors view this as a broad encompassing of the roles and duties of stakeholders in preparing specifications. Every stakeholder has to be actively involved in the preparation of specifications for them to be a success. Leadership and responsibility. The first variable is the use of green specifications to address project requirements. It is of utmost importance that specifications that are specified are in line with what the project actually requires. This ensures that it will not fail. The second variable is avoiding conflict of interest between stakeholders. Stakeholders need to have mutual desired outcomes for the project. For example, a developer may want to save heavily on costs while the architect wants to specify the latest technologies, which may be costly. Some common ground will have to be found in that regard. Appropriate behavior and performance. This deals with behaving ethically as professionals, whereby to avoid taking shortcuts and also performing your duties to the best of your ability. This will facilitate an effective preparation of specifications. Technologies and techniques. Seen by authors as the most challenging task in preparing specifications and with a long-term view of project success. Reduction of environmental impact during construction. Authors indicate that as a core concept of, one of the core concepts of green building, there should be consideration for soil, water, and air protection during construction. And this is seen as a big challenge. Feedback and building public confidence. There needs to be an availability of databases from which provide information about the latest green building trends and products, which specifiers can refer to when specifying. My study was conducted quantitatively. Architects in all of South Africa were a selected population. For the sample, I decided to use the 180 Green Building Council accredited architects who should be experts, or at least highly knowledgeable in this field of study. After the sample was set out, I created a web-based survey, and the survey was pilot tested to establish any irregularities or ambiguities which may arise from and the amendments were made accordingly. The questionnaire was distributed to the respondents via email with a cover letter which included a link to which the respondents could access the questionnaire. 11 of the respondents were removed from the study. 9 of the respondents were unreachable, and 2 of the respondents indicated they could not answer the questions due to their inexperience with the green building. In total, there were 39 respondents out of 169, which rendered 23% response rate. The questionnaire consisted of 2 sections. The first section dealt with the respondent demographic information, as well as the second section dealt with the ratings of the variables of the ratings of the variables. A 5-point scale was used to rate how problematic the variables are in South African green building. The rating was done in sense of problematicness of the problem. The ratings ranged from no effect to no effect at all to critical. The mean scores were then captured, analyzed, and interpreted. Looking at the mean score ranges, mean scores between 1 and 1.8 signaled no effect at all. Range 2, which is fairly important, was from range 1.8 to 2.6. Important from 2.6 to 3.4, very important from range 3.4 to 4.2, and lastly critical, which ranged from 4.2 to 5. Looking at the respondents' demographic information, in terms of work experience, 8% of the respondents claimed to have less than 5 years working experience. 31% of the respondents had between 5 and 10 years experience, and 61% had more than 10 years experience. The vast majority of respondents having more than 10 years experience is encouraging for this study, in that most of the respondents were actually experienced enough to know the problems in architecture in general. Involvement with green building considerations. 18% of the respondents indicated that with all the work they're involved in, less than 10% had green building considerations. 49% of the respondents said that between 10 and 30% of the work they're involved in has green building considerations, and 33% of the respondents claim that more than 30% of the work they're involved in has green building considerations. Looking at the ranking of the overall factors, which were shaped by the variables, it can be seen that feedback and building public confidence was extremely problematic in South Africa, as perceived by the architects. Second most influential factor was stakeholder involvement, with a mean score of 3.84, which both signal very, very important. Looking at the variables under the factors, it can be seen that in stakeholder involvement, as I mentioned, there were only 2 variables. The mandate to protect the environment and stakeholder concerns are equally ranked as very important. These conform with what the authors indicated about there having to be some sort of guideline or guideline for people to behave ethically in terms of mandate protected environment and stakeholder concerns. There's clearly a problem, stakeholder concerns in South Africa being addressed. Leadership and responsibility. The highest ranking here was green specifications to address project needs. It was emphasized by the authors that it is crucially important that that specifications be in line with what the project actually requires. And it can be seen that there's still a problem in South Africa. Secondly was reducing risks of using green specifications. The authors never spoke about this in great importance, but in South Africa it's clearly a problem. Avoiding conflict of interest was seen as very important by the authors, but not as important as the other factors in South Africa as viewed by respondents. Looking at energy consumption reduction, with a high mean of 4.4, near critical, this conforms with what the author said about this being the most difficult challenge in green building in general. Feedback and availability of feedback and building public confidence. Availability of public information from databases is clearly a problem in South African green building, as there's a lack of reliable information which architects can use to refer to when specifying. In terms of the variables, it can be seen that the most influential variables were energy consumption reduction and availability of green information. In conclusion, as can be seen by the perceptions of the architects in South Africa, feedback and building public confidence was the most problematic of all the factors. As I mentioned earlier, this is because there's no sound system for capturing data and no sound system for giving feedback to architects when specifying. Stakeholder involvement is also clearly a problem in the perceptions of the architect, as there's a lack of sound interaction between the architects in the preparation stage of specifications. This picture here sums up the state of green building in South Africa. The pieces are there, but the problem is putting the pieces of the puzzle together and keeping them there. Their recommendations, there should be research into finding out how information on latest trends on green building products and technologies can be captured and easily accessible to all specifiers. This will instill confidence in specifiers in the sense that when specifying, the designer can know that the products he's working with are the latest and the most advanced at that time. There must be sound stakeholder involvement. There should be more charades and better meetings and better pre-project meetings to discuss what needs to be done for the project. There should be also a more widespread promotion of corporate social responsibility among top management in the firms. Going back to the opening quote from Grover, we have to inspire interest by educating, by improving education in schools and giving people a sense of responsibility in society, and create demand by offering incentives for going green, other than just the normal tax incentives that have been offered. Thank you for listening.
Roy?
Not really a question. I think you've addressed my question with regards to your the feedback and building public confidence, and I think within your recommendations you've addressed that all stakeholders have to be involved, and that will be spelled out in your conference papers as well. Thanks.
Fonny?
Just one comment. I sort of found out the cost factor of green buildings. Did you at all look at that, or
No,
did you exclude that?
Excluded completely, sir.
Is that okay?
Yes.
Did you in your literature review find anything about that?
No, I didn't look at it at all, no, sir.
Okay.
Anita?
Which stakeholders do you think are in the best position to take the lead with this?
Definitely the architects and the construction managers. Architect because he's aware of what products are available at that particular time, and the construction managers know how to actually implement them, and they know, and if they're experienced enough, they can check they can see which products have failed and which have succeeded.
Thanks, Monyane, for the presentation. Good question. Just in terms of your population, you said it was 180. How did you arrive at 180?
They are available on the Green Building Council website. They are
Is it all of them?
All of them, yes, sir.
So you went to all of them?
Yeah.
And then I just wanted, just for interest's sake, your decision to look at this topic from a quantity surveying perspective? Or
I didn't consider that at all, sir.
how did you then?
Yeah.
Thanks very much.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Mr. Monyane.
Yes,
I
Professor.
enjoyed it very much. It was factual. The slides were explicit. Very good. This is not a question, it's a suggestion to future candidates maybe, where you might be able to assist them. There is no data whatsoever on the maintenance of green buildings in comparison with, shall we say, conventional, historical, traditional type buildings.
Okay.
And also on the whole life appraisal, in other words, life cycle costing.
Yes.
There's nothing on that because it's all too new. But if somebody had to start from scratch as of now and start building up a schedule of what happens on selected accredited green buildings that are much vaunted in the construction journals, it would be a fantastic database to have, to refer to, and also solve some of the problems of corporate social responsibility, client confidence, the construction industry's reputation generally, the new concepts of energy conservation, and all the things you've mentioned. So maybe we should just record it somewhere that starting a database will make you a household name.
Other students? Thank you very much, Monyane.